If you say, well, I'm going to take this role because I can be really great in it, and I'm going to do it better than anybody else, well, that's something that you really have no control over whether that's going to happen or not. But you have more control over whether it's going to happen, that you're going to learn something.
Why is acting an exercise in empathy?
It has a lot to do with the judgment issue, with feeling that that every character is doing what they think is right, what they think is best. They have a reason. Everybody has a reason for everything that they do. I once read a short story, and unfortunately I don't remember the author, but it was a wonderful short story. And it had this line, "There's a reason for everything, and sometimes two." And I've just always clasped that to my heart as something very essential about acting, about script analysis, about directors understanding actors and understanding characters. Everybody has a reason for what they're doing. It might be a reason that the rest of us would look at from the outside and say, that's a crappy reason, that's a stupid reason, that's a wrong reason. Of course, we all have the audience has the right to judge. But the actor has to come from a place of, that the character is operating out of a need. They need something, and they're doing what they can to get there. So it's deeply empathetic, and I actually believe that acting is a kind of spiritual practice. I'm one of those. I'm one of those people that feels that way about it. For myself, when I got into acting, I had no notion of making a career at it. I had no notion. I certainly had no notion of being a movie star or anything like that. It was the 1970s, and I was looking for something to do that would be fulfilling, that would make me understand the world better and understand myself better. Acting was perfect, partly because of my wonderful teacher, who just seemed to know so much about life and about why people do things, why characters do the things they do, and also why people do the things they do. So it was always very personal for me. It was always a learning, a learning experience, learning about myself, learning about the world, learning why people do the things they do, and so that's certainly an exercise in empathy. I think I always try to ask directors to expect that that's what actors are there for, that they're students of life, that they want to know more about people and about the world, and that if directors approach them that way as artists and as ethical people, that they will be able to communicate better and be able to communicate their vision better.
Would you see actors that had different levels of empathy, maybe empathy toward their scene partner, but less so with themselves, and that became a problem in their performances?
Can you give me an example?
Well, you know how some people are incredibly harsh on themselves, whether it's, something that's been said to them in the past that they carry with them. So then they always carry that everywhere they go. And maybe they would take that in a scene, and they might treat their scene partner well, but then for themselves, the empathy wasn't there.
Actors are notoriously hard on themselves, always. 90%. There's, to the extent that when you hear a story of an actor who's not hard on themselves, and I'm going to give you one in a second, it's really exciting and amazing and blows other actors' minds. There's a story about Meryl Streep that I read in an article. It was an interview with Chris Cooper, who played opposite her in Adaptation. And he said that every time that a take got blown or didn't work, or she made a mistake or something went wrong, she would, after that, just go, okay, let's go it again. And she never lost her joy of acting, she never came down on herself. She never, many actors after that, something happens, they'll go, oh, and she never did that. And he was shocked. He'd never seen it. So I would say, 90% or 99% maybe of actors are very hard on themselves. And then those sparkling 1% or 10% are unusual. But of course, they have so much freedom. And of course, you want actors to have that kind of freedom. And I've taught actors for a long time, acting classes, and I always wanted them to have that freedom to forgive themselves, and that's why I say to directors, permission to fail is the most valuable thing that you can give an actor. Is you can tell them, don't worry, we'll do it again. If I won't use anything that doesn't work. So we have all the time in the world. And even telling an actor, we have all the time in the world, even if you don't, you'll actually get the shot faster than if you say to an actor, okay, we've only got time for one more shot, so we've got to get it on this shot. It's actually less likely to go well than if you say, we've got all the time in the world. Let's just do one more. And you're more likely to get something good out of that permission to fail, that it's okay if you fail.
Would you see empathy, the degrees of empathy maybe blossom more? Let's say there's a scale, and when a student would come to you in the past for the classes, the workshops, that their empathy, they were closed off, and you could see it in them, whether it was family conditioning. And then over time, the scale, they came more to this side where they just were open to themselves, open to other people.
Well, it was always my hope, of course. It's always my hope. I try not to make myself responsible for whether that happens or not, but it's always my hope that people will, that whether they're acting or whether they're directing, or whether they're writing, that it will open them up, that it will connect them more to what they feel is important about life. And I used to feel this way when I was an actor myself. When I was in plays a lot all during the 70s, and I used to approach every role with the idea that once the show closed, I would know more about myself than I did at the start of rehearsal. And I think that helped, because that's something that really can happen. If you say, well, I'm going to take this role because I can be really great in it, and I'm going to do it better than anybody else. Well, that's something that you really have no control over, whether that's going to happen or not. But you have more control over whether it's going to happen, that you're going to learn something. So I always think of that as a good place to come from for anybody in the arts. That if your goal on any project is to learn something, then you really can't go wrong. You will reach your goal. If your goal is to learn something, you will reach that goal. If your goal is to be perfect, to be great, to blow everybody out of the water, well, there's a lot of room for disappointment.